What's up, guys? It's Keith Kelfis with the Untrapped Podcast, yet for another amazing show. So happy. We got Curt Kempton, founder of Responsibid. Curt and I have been friends for 8 years. We've met each other at events all over the country. And this guy he had his own window cleaning business, and he had this genius idea to start a software called Responsibid that pretty much automates the sales and bidding on if you're selling your services. Like I don't know how much for landscaping or window cleaning it works, but definitely landscaping, but window cleaning, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, probably some new stuff he's going to talk about. But basically imagine the front end of your website having something that says get an instant bid. And I have this. I use this on the front end of my website. I'll even plug it real quick. Go to keithkelfis.com/resources. And then scroll down till you see Responsibid, and you can check this out. keithkelfis.com/resources, Responsibid. So that's where you can learn about it. But you go and you can click and get it like an instant bid. And then he's created this thing where you can make like sales videos. It could just be you talking, and you can introduce the customer to your business, your processes, the way you work and everything. And the customer is so impressed that they literally can just click. And based off of the measurements you give, they can get a very accurate quote and then literally close and book the job themselves. And then you just get a notification. You could wake up and see it happen while you're sleeping. You could be on vacation. You could be on another job. And I've met people around the country for real who have made like thousands of dollars while they're at a live event doing something else. It's just closing jobs on autopilot. This shit is the future. And Curt Kempton is the genius behind it. What's up, Curt Kempton?
How you doing, Keith?
Dude, I love it, bro.
Dude, you're too kind. Yeah, it was a good idea. And I've been I had no business starting a software company, but I did it anyway. And I've learned a lot along the way, but man, we've come a long way. It's been fun.
You guys have come a long way. And you also have your yearly live event called Responsicon. Is that in Arizona?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, we do that. Well, we do it at the end of January. The hope is that it's super warm compared to where everyone else lives. But this year it ended up being a little chillier than our average January. But yeah, it's fun, man. We're actually what I would consider a home service workshop. It's you come to it and you basically build automations and stuff. You work with other people who've automated parts of their business. And when you get on the airplane to go back home, it's done. It's already done and live, whether it's recording videos with our professional videographers that are there, having them on your website, scripts that you're writing for your phone scripts or your emails, automations, or pricing bundles that you're building, or like there's so much strategy going on all in one place. And then you basically just work with a bunch of your peers to like make it exactly the way you want it to be.
Literally, I know people listening to this right now. They're like, I want to know more about this immediately. So you can go to your live event called Responsicon. Is that every January?
Yeah, it's every last weekend in January every year. Yep.
Bro, I got to make it there. I've got to come there. So you literally dial in the sales and automate and scripts and all the stuff for your business while you're there on site.
Yep.
And then go home.
Inspiration, collaboration, and execution. So there's a stage where stuff is taught. There's hacking rooms where you go in and it's 5 per room and you work on whatever the topic of that room is. You pick which rooms you want to go into, make your appointments for it, go into it, hack out the things that you want done. And then execution, you can do more execution in hacking rooms as far as like taking stuff live or whatever. But we have, like I said, like video recording rooms, and we have like copywriters there to help you with your copy and your copy strategy. I know a lot of people say, oh, I've got ChatGPT, I don't need a copywriter anymore. Well, it's really more about like the strategy and understanding how to convert your branding and your unique sales proposition into a string of emails that helps to make you stand apart from all your competition. So we provide all that stuff for you. You just come to the conference, we feed you, and we just take care of it, get it all done.
So epic. And so what percentage of the onstage teaching or part of the facilitation are you actually doing?
Oh, gosh. Usually I'll make a few Responsibid announcements. I might take like 30 or 40 minutes to like teach like concepts and stuff. But I would say that 80 or 90% of all talking is actually coming from like different peers who have like had other breakthroughs.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a higher level thing to me, even though like, I mean, not higher level where you guys listening would be like, well, maybe I'm not qualified. It's what I'm talking about. Like, I was really thinking about this um today because I'm coming out with a new project myself, and I'm going through and I'm writing the copy, and I'm asking myself the questions for the messaging and all these things, and I'm saying, what is the most important piece to everything if somebody it feels stuck or trapped, or they want to grow uh to where they want to be a little bit faster, they want to compress time or close the gap. And to me, it's like it keeps popping up. It's, you said the collaboration and inspiration. It's literally getting around other people who have had breakthroughs already, and then you can get around them and in person if you can.
Yeah, I feel like Conquer is a really good example of what you just said. Like when I first started my window cleaning company, I knew of like $2 million companies, and they were so big that no one could even consider like what it would be like to grow into that size of a company. Conquer comes around and starts taking people who had done it, putting a bunch of people in the same room with them, and we've watched the whole industry rise up. Now, I'm not saying Conquer's the only place that's happening, because that would be wrong. There's other people doing great stuff too, but I just feel like it's the perfect example of like, now $1 million company is like, I'm not going to say it's like every company is $1 million company, but I am saying like I learn of like 5 or 8 new $1 million companies every week. I mean, I'm hearing about it all the time now, and it feels like, 10 million is the new $1 million company. And a lot of it has to do with just getting near people who are doing stuff and just copying their playbook. Or probably better than that would be to take your beliefs and your values, your mission, and applying it to the principles that other people have used. The cool thing is you can build your own $1 million company. There's a recipe that'll already work. All you have to do is just put your personality into it.
So what percentage of the different pillars of your business would you say that sales, marketing, and automation and getting that whole part mastered and what you specialize in is important for somebody to take their business? Let's just say they're at around 100 grand and they want to jump up to that $400,000 or $500,000 mark.
Well, I want to be careful not to answer it too concretely, because I think that it depends. I think that's an important part of the answer I'm about to give. It depends. However, sales and marketing, you never go from 100,000 to 400,000 without sales and marketing. Like, it's just not going to happen at all. Like, that's literally what it is. The problem is delivering on it. So if this was a recipe for like cookies, I would say sales and marketing is probably the sugar, the chocolate chips, all like the stuff that when you bite into a cookie, you're like, oh, that's delicious. But without the baking powder and the flour and some of the other bland stuff, like, your cookie's gonna suck. And so you got to have the operation that can go to it. So that's where I feel like it's an orchestra. When the conductor's in front of the orchestra, he's leading everybody, like, bring up the strings, bring up the oboes. I don't know if anyone's ever asked oboes to come up, but you know what I mean? Like, you gotta bring it up in unison so that each part of the business can feed the other part of the business.
Because what I'm getting at also is like, most of the people that listen to my podcast are stage 1, stage 2, chucking a truck, or you got a couple guys working, you're out there hustling, and it can teeter-totter between like full out ambition, but then the 16-hour days, literally 16-hour days, grind you down to a nub to where you get to this point where you start. There's this thing called the 6-year itch, or the 5-year. I don't know if that was marriage or, but we'll just say it's for business.
I think it's for marriage.
Okay. 5-year itch. Yeah. So, but right around the 5-year mark, small service business owners, if they're still out there in the field, or maybe they're partly out of the field, but they're wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
There's this, instead of the eureka moment, it's a eureka moment in a negative direction, to where now they feel like, you know what I'm talking about. And so, but you're talking about something like that alleviates pain by creating automation, because the only way to grow out of that pain is to get some other people or some automations or some software or get some systems, right?
Yeah. Dude, you are so right. I remember the first 3 years of starting my company. Like they call it the flywheel, and Jim Collins refers to it as the flywheel, right? Get it up and going, and you're so tempted to stop turning that flywheel because it's hard to go start something
Jim
else.
Collins, author of Good to Great
Good to Great,
and Why
Built to
the
Last.
Mighty Fall.
Yeah. And the temptation for especially ADD business owners is that we start working on this flywheel. We're turning the flywheel. We're not seeing the speed that we want. And we get distracted and go focus on either the wrong things or a new thing. And Jim Collins' advice is, hey, it's not sexy, but keep spinning that flywheel. Keep working the plan. Get the plan working. The problem is, I think that just as evil of going to another flywheel and trying to get another one started at the same time, just as evil as that is actually doing the wrong things. And when you are locked in as a business owner and you have the blinders on to the idea that when you're working your plan, you go, man, I don't feel comfortable learning how to hire people, or I don't feel comfortable writing out systems for this area I'm not that good in. So what do? They go into the truck and start like organizing the truck, or they go into start trying to find a chemical that can save them 10 cents per job.
I'm taking notes here. Keep going.
Okay. And so when you're doing the wrong things, your flywheel can lose momentum as well. And what you're talking about, Keith, is the danger of trying to spin this flywheel and letting it slow down and trying to get it back up to speed and then slowing down and find yourself 5 years later still spinning a flywheel that's still going the exact same speed that it was going in year 2. And that can be extremely demoralizing when you're saying, I'm breaking my back over here. I'm working so hard. I'm looking around me and everybody else is succeeding, but what's wrong with me? And it very well may be that you haven't been able to start with that speed of the flywheel. You should start rising above the business till you get to the point where there's really nothing in the business that you can do better than anyone else. Like everyone in the business should be better at whatever.
You become the most incompetent person in the organization.
Other than connecting, right? So like as a CEO of the business, and by the way, not every business owner is destined to become the CEO. Some people are going to hire a CEO to run their business and they're going to keep working out in the operations. And there's actually nothing wrong with that. The typical growth plan, if you're intentionally following the typical growth plan, you should start rising yourself out of responsibilities. And when you talk about stage 1, stage 2, I know it goes up to 5 stages. Basically, as you're moving from each stage, you're releasing the least productive dollar per hour job that you can do. So it'll start with the technical work, and then it'll sort of move to the sales work. Then it will start moving to management work, right? And the higher you move up in your own company, and the more competent people out in the field are than you, and the more competent people are in the sales department are than you, and the more someone is a phone warrior than you are, and you just kind of keep growing yourself up and up to be a connector of all of these people, that is when you won't hit that wall at the end. You just can't expect to like be a technician for 3 years and think that that's going to change in year 4, because the problem has already exposed itself. You're still organizing trucks and mixing chemicals and doing that. Now, I feel like I need to stop for just 1 second though, because it's starting to sound different than I want it to sound. There are people whose goal it is to not have any employees. If you're intentionally growing that way because you just want to have a smallish company and you want to meet all your customers and there's intrinsic value in that for you, I just want to speak to those people for a second. You're risking a lot by not risking anything right now. So what I mean is that you have what Brandon Vaughn refers to as a bus factor of 1, or as I call it, the body cast business. When you get into a body cast, your business is over, right? That's a big risk. If you get really sick, your business is over. That's a huge risk, in my opinion, by putting all of their eggs into your health, mental, physical health basket. And I would say understand that risk, but what you're giving up is the risk of an employee ever embezzling funds from you. You're giving up the risk of an employee going into someone's house and stealing from them. You're giving up the risk of all of your equipment getting trashed by employees. You're giving up the risk of someone saying something that projects poorly on your company. So like, that's okay if that's what you want. But my whole thing is you've got to move intentionally. And I know you started out talking about responsibility. We talked about Responsicon. I'll tell you right now, if you're working by yourself, you're only going to be able to spin so many plates. You're going to put yourself into mental health risk if you do get to that 5-6 year area that Keith's talking about. Because when you're doing it all on your own, it's a lot to carry on your shoulders, and it gets heavy over time. And you're going to get old, and you're going to get brittle. And I would say that automation is your friend at that point.
He knows what he's talking about, folks. Listen to what he's saying. He's not feeding you a line. Keep going, man. You're preaching.
I feel like if you're going to be on your own, automation's your employee. Figure out what you can automate away from yourselves. Take as much off your shoulders as you possibly can. And that's really the only point I'm making, is that if you have a goal to grow big, then you have to keep rising into the different stages of business, and you need to do it regularly. Maybe every year, moving into a different stage. Have a goal when you start the year to not be in this stage, and focus every month, every week, every day to do a little bit more to work yourself into that next stage. Because if you go a whole year just doing the same thing over and over, don't be surprised when you get to the next year and you look exactly the same as you did the year before.
Which means you have to also be comfortable, or be aware that you'll be very uncomfortable changing the roles that you play in your business. You know, if you're so used to being out in the field doing all the tech work, and now you got to hand the keys of the truck over, or get another truck and hand that over to someone else, and now you're just doing sales and marketing and the office work, but now you got to hand over the phone to someone else. It can feel like a dying, but you can't experience the rebirth until you experience that dying, like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, where you go, oh my God, I thought nobody could do this better than me. If you read the book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach, it was a big aha for me. So
yeah, actually, Keith, Who Not How, one of the things that really shifted my mind is, if you have a problem and you have enough money to solve the problem, you don't really have a problem. You're just keeping a problem. And I remember thinking, like, but, there's a lot of people out there that are like, I'm just hoarding money because I'm so nervous, and growth costs money. But you just brought up, you just made me relive an experience. Keith, do you remember the first time an employee drove away in one of your trucks with all your equipment?
Bro, yes, I do.
How did that feel? Where were you standing, at a shop or your driveway? Where were you standing when they pulled out?
Oh shit! Which time? The time that he didn't close the door and all the cones fell all over and I had to wave him down, or the time that I thought he got in a pileup and I was driving up and down the main street because I couldn't get a hold of him and I thought that there must have been a car accident and I'm going to a courtroom, or but the first time.
The first time.
Yeah. Okay. I remember. Yes. I was freaking scared. I felt like I was like, sending my little kid to just go run and then play in the middle of the highway, bro.
That's exactly it. Dude, you couldn't have described it better. I just remember standing in the driveway waving at him as he pulled my trailer down the road out of my neighborhood. And I remember thinking, what have I done? It's a terrible idea.
Dude, I call my insurance company so much, not as much now, to the point where, yes, Keith, this is why you're insured. Dude, I have scenario questions. I get on the phone. Well, let me talk to a different agent. Let me talk to workers' comp. What about this classification? We trim ornamental trees, but we only do this like once here and there, but we don't do this height. Am I in this proper classification?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, there's the truck driving out of the driveway situation. There's the first time you have someone else answering your phones. They didn't have companies like Jill's Office, like now. When I was getting phones answered, I had to hire someone, teach them all my things. I didn't train them on personality, understanding how to de-escalate conflict, or how to like read someone's personality and sell to them properly. I just was like, are you breathing? Yes. Here's a sheet. Walk people through the phone. It was such a pain. But anyway, I remember like all these little moments when it happened, and I'm like training these people to do all this stuff, and I didn't have any tools to do it. I just like had to make it up as I went, and I did a really terrible job a few times. But, and this is a really big thing, but I hired great people, And I feel like in the interview process, I did a great job of finding people who cared and wanted to be great. And that is sort of what made it work. I've sold that company since, by the way, and now I do it in my software company. But I mean, that's the thing, is that people are like, how many years experience do you have with window cleaning, or how many experience do you have with lawn care? I mean, I don't know, man. Teaching people to cut grass or how to get a window wet and dry it back off. Like, these aren't like super hard things to teach, but like, how am I supposed to teach you to care? And how am I supposed to teach you to like treat my business like it's your business? That takes a special person. And we did a lot of training that way. So anyway, I've been rambling, but those are some big deals when people are, and I don't know how many people are listening to this in that $100 to $200 to $300,000 range, but that's like the hardest. That's the hardest. 500,000 starts to get a little bit easier because you can offload some stuff, but your business doesn't really start like becoming super fun to run, I don't think, until about the $1 million mark. Because at the $1 million mark, if you don't wake up and get there on time, at that point, you've got enough people in place to make it happen. And the stress of like, oh my gosh, someone called in sick, the rest of your team can sort of absorb it, and it'll be okay. But it's not that way up until that point. And that's a really tough place to live. You just have to grind through it, get to it. And there is a nice reward waiting for you at the end of that road.
How incredible. And for those of you that may be thinking this one thought or a question, I'll just verbalize it now. Providing, with everything you just said, providing that all the proper price structures are in place to hold up the entire fucking pyramid. I'm trying not to cuss so much here, because people are like, well, I don't make enough money, the profit margin.
Yeah. Gosh.
Sorry, man. Did I just offend you?
No, I'm good.
I've known you for so long. I've never heard you say one cuss word ever, bro. And I don't want you to.
I don't swear personally, but
Your brand is so clean.
Thanks, man. I think that the people who are super stressed out about their profit margins, they're stuck in that way. Remember when I was talking about the recipe for a cookie? The thing I didn't bring up was the butter. Butter is a weird ingredient. Like, you know why all the food at restaurants tastes way better than whatever you try to make at your house? It's because they use so much more butter than you. So much more. And I don't think of butter as like a delicious thing, but it makes stuff really delicious. But, it's something, I feel like profit margins sort of fit into that category of like something people don't like. I want to be competitive. I want to be the lowest priced, or I am high priced, but I'm really scared to raise my prices anymore. And I mean, this structure only works if you're running at like a 20% margin. If you don't have a net profit of 10 to 20%, somewhere in that range, this won't work. So you have to figure out, if you've already slashed everything to the bone and you're not there.
Well 10 to 20% with a team that you're working with, because some guys solo or have maybe they just have a helper. They can be making over 50 or 60%. I've heard as high as 80% with, if you're doing like strictly tree trimming or just, I don't want to get into it, but like, I was like a 36%. No, then I went down to a 28. It just fluctuates. 28%. But I have a tiny landscaping business, like 1.5 crew. And we do
what really screws with those numbers is when they add their pay back, or when they don't take their pay out and they just call that profit. That'll screw you up really quick. You need to pay yourself for the job you're doing. And if you're doing 4 jobs, you need to pay yourself for 4 jobs. How are you ever going to hire anyone to replace you if you don't have it budgeted to pay someone $30,000 a year to answer your phones? Or if you don't pay somebody $50,000 a year to be a technician, or whatever the rates need to be. The point is that if you need $50,000 to hire a technician, you'll never be able to fire yourself and hire another technician, because you've never accounted for that. So
exactly.
I don't know what, like, people, when they tell you what their profit margin is, unless you look at their QuickBooks and you go through it with them and you understand every line, things can get a little bit murky. But you are right. 10 to 20% profit margin is very important to consider when you have a fully functioning.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Paid company. Go ahead.
In my situation, I got out of the field last year, and so I don't answer the phone. I don't do any reception work. I just do sales and marketing. And what else is there? Yeah, I guess sales and marketing and manage the money. And my profit went all the way down to 10% because I removed myself from the field, paying myself an owner's wage of like, I was paying myself, averaged out to like, I don't know, because my hours, I don't keep hours, but I just pay myself a salary. But let's just say it's $21 to $28 an hour. So I pay a guy to drive a truck $21 an hour, pay the other guy 19, and then they get bonuses and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I think they got
$50,000 a year job right there. 21, 28. That's in that 50,000 range.
Yeah, and then so removing myself completely from the field, my profit dropped down to 10% of what I was able to make out of the business. So I took a huge pay cut, but I literally was so stressed out from running two businesses at once because my media business started expanding. And then I realized that I was miserable out of the field, and I like doing landscape. I like being in the field. I like doing operations. I love the workout. I love getting a tan when I work, when I physically get my hands dirty. I feel grounded, and it's something about it but I had to go back and consciously choose. Now I'm back in the field about 2 days a week, only maybe 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, 2 days a week. So I can get that workout feeling, and then I can make some more money. But my media business has like eclipsed my landscaping business. And so it's like, it's funny how like at first, I'm not trying to draw this point on too long. You feel like you're stuck and you're trapped, and you tell yourself the story, if I could just get out of the field, but that's when the work begins, is when you get out of.
Yes, because you have to keep that growing to the next stage. You just nailed it. That's exactly right. People think that like, if I'm not doing the work in the truck, I'm not doing any work at all. Well, that's so backwards. That is so backwards. The real work is when you get to work, not hammering nails into like the studs of the house, building a house. It's when you are building your business. It's building the relationships and building the infrastructure and the systems and the people. Like, people think that that's not work, and that's why they don't compensate themselves for that. Like you were saying, I do the sales and marketing. Well, you have to hire someone to do sales and marketing. You got to pay yourself to do it, right? Well, if you're going to move yourself out, you got to move someone in at some point. And you talk about how like running two businesses. Look, before I sound like I'm so like great and everything, people that don't know me think, man, this Curt, like he sounds like he's got all the answers. No, guys, when I sold my business, a secret. This is a secret I've never told anywhere. I'll tell you now, Keith. Just you. This is honest to goodness truth. No lie. I put my business up for sale because I was running two businesses. I felt like I was chasing two rabbits, and I was broken. I personally could not do it anymore. I was proud of the businesses I built, but my window cleaning company had stagnated, and my software company was stagnating, and I was at my limit. Red line. I think about like Richard Branson and Elon Musk. These people can run multiple businesses. Not me. No how. I can chase one rabbit. That's it. Anyway, I'm so broken. What I did was and this, everyone knows this, I built a web page and I put all my stats for the last 5 years. It was a 5-year-old business. I put every number for 5 years on a web page, and I password protected the web page. And then I put it on social media that I shared one infographic about my business and said, if you're interested in buying a business, sign this NDA and I will send you the password to the page. Like 15 people hit me up. They all looked at the page. Here's the secret. I was just looking for someone to buy the business as soon as possible, which did happen. I was willing at that point in my life, for my own mental health and my own sanity, I would have taken $0 for it. I would have taken zero. I hated it.
I believe it.
I loved what it had done, but I was done. And, now I speak in hindsight, and I hope that somebody who's listening, who's tired and exhausted, I hope you know that as I look back on that and understand it better and some of the things I've shared with you guys, Like I didn't have a support group. I wasn't handing things off. I wasn't trying to up-level myself on the stage of my company, mostly because I'd spread myself too thin with 2 companies. But I had stopped doing the things I needed to do in my business, and I wasn't moving from stage to stage, and the weight was coming down on me. Every time I heard about my window cleaning business, no one called to tell me something was going great. The only thing people called to tell me was I backed the van into someone's gate. Turns out it's the most expensive gate in the whole world. Who knew that gates cost this much money? My engine blew on the freeway because I forgot to do my last 4 oil changes. You forgot? You signed them off and sent them to me. Yeah, I know. I signed them off thinking I was going to take it in a Jiffy Lube, but I never did on the weekend. What? Kurt, the carbon fiber water-fed pole that you guys just bought us for this big job, we forgot to secure it on the van, and it's in the middle of the freeway getting run over by cars right now. Like, those are the kinds of things I was getting told about my business. No one was calling to go like, dude, we're crushing it. We're killing it, right? And it sucked. It sucked so bad that all I wanted to do was just get rid of it. I would give it away. I was ready to pay someone to take it. Good news is that I carried myself strongly enough and I put the numbers up enough that it was worth money, and people did give me good money. I had started the software company, and I automated a lot of the business through Responsibit and another company called Infusionsoft that's now called Keep. And I had built a system that people really wanted and desired. We'd won a big window cleaning award for the last 3 years previously to that got us a lot of notoriety at the IWCA. And I was luckily able to sell my business for a good amount of money. But I'm telling you, Keith, this is real talk, man. Having a business and being stuck, you got to poop or get off the pot. Are you going to just take all the stress away and just be yourself? Or are you going to keep blasting forward? And if you are going to keep blasting forward, it's not going to happen by accident. You have to intentionally know what the next step is and do it. Automate it, hire for it, figure out your margins, make sure that the math is the path. You got to make sure you keep all of the numbers sticking within the percentage of revenue they need to be. If you don't have enough money percentage-wise to cover that expense, then you don't have the money to fill for it yet. It's time to grow bigger. And like I was talking about the ingredients of the cookies, you got to get the revenue up so that the percentage of revenue will cover the next need. Then you got to get the revenue up, and so that your percentage of revenue will cover the next need. You got to get the revenue up, and it's just this beautiful dance, but it's a day in and day out thing. You don't wait to the end of the year and then hire a bunch of people because you won't be able to meet capacity. So anyway, I'm talking a lot. Hopefully that all makes sense though.
Very good. So, and one thing I was thinking about all this, you're so focused. I know you, and I could feel something. Maybe I'll talk about it after the show, but I'll sum it up as this: you really found your energy is like you found your lane. You know your lane. You know to stay in your lane. There's all these things that Curt could do, but you know exactly what you're right. It's like essentialism.
I mean, it's because I live that life. I lived the life of thinking I could do all of it. And Keith, another secret I'll tell you is that this year, I just realized, I don't know if I'm 42 or 43 for sure, but I'm one of those two. And I'm old, bro. It just happened to me. I just realized, my team has so much energy, and they're like, let's do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, do it and report back to me. And they're like, don't you want to do it with me? Don't you and I'm like, I can't, bro. I can't keep up with you. You're having a great time. That doesn't sound like fun to me at all anymore, because it reminds me of those days of chasing too many rabbits, and I'm no good at it.
So I don't want, if you're listening to this and you're in your 20s, disregard what Curt said. Keep chasing them rabbits, bro.
Yes,
you're gonna get somewhere.
Hey, you make hay when the sun shines. I definitely agree. If you're in your 20s, first off, dude, know how awesome you are right now.
Here we go.
18 to 35, freaking the golden age, right? I mean, oh man, I could work. I could go on 4 hours.
Well, if you're running east chasing a sunset.
What?
Yeah, wait, the sun rises in the east.
Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're running east chasing a sunset. That was me, bro. And I miss that old part of myself so much. I would have an idea. I'd wake up It'd be anytime, boom, an idea for a crazy ass video. I'm like, oh my god, and I would do.
Now. Yeah.
That's what I would do. And then before I knew it, I had so many ideas. I was doing so many things that I was having mental health issues and nervous breakdown. My wife was like, you need help. But I was like, no, it was like the movie A Beautiful Mind, but I love the way I think, because I had so many, bro. I hop on a plane. Let's go here. Let's go. I was everywhere. And part of me loved that. And I don't miss that. But, and there's this saying, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That ruined my life too, because man, this is a whole different podcast. I don't want to open it. We got so, but you said you're 42 or 43. You found your lane and you know what works, and you've tried all the other stuff, and that's fascinating to me. You've also talked about collaborating and inspiring, getting around other people, and then this brings me down to commitment. What is commitment to you in your business, and what makes people commit and get to the next level, get themselves to commit versus those that just keep being stuck at stage 1, stage 2?
Ooh, man. Can we start the podcast all over? Because that's it, man. Commitment. That's
we'll do a whole nother one.
Yeah, like that's what I love. Look, I'm committed to my wife and my kids. My business supports that. And for years I could say it but not believe it, because as a provider, it's stressful, right? And I've already told you the backstory to probably get a good idea of how it feels when you're trying to be the provider, and it's hard. And you're like, man, I'm committed to my family, but I'm committed to the business because I got to provide for my family. And I can't be at the school play, and I can't be at my kid's spelling bee, and I can't take my family on a vacation. I got to work. And it's like, well, what are you committed to anyway? So here's what I would say. If I could go back to my 20-year-old self and give a piece of advice, I've gotten things pretty comfortable now. Things are working pretty good. I got a machine that's humming along, and it's really fun to watch. What I get joy out of now should have been the same thing I was getting joy out of back then. And that is that I connect people together. I work on people. I am a professional cheerleader. As CEO, I am a professional cheerleader. And my job is to get people to be as great at their job as they can possibly be, and to help them to know that I will always have their back as long as they are living my company values. And my company values will determine that they're doing a great job, because if they're living my values, they're going to do a good job. But that's how my megaphone gets created. These people live my values. They put that out into the world. They do it through the marketing side, or through the retention side in our business, or the support side. They do it through the sales side. They do it through the development side. All the different departments in my business all have people who are living values that I truly believe. And what that frees me up to do is to be able to say, anytime something comes across my desk that requires me to do it, the first thing I think is, who on my team is better at this than me? And I can hand it off. Now, I can't hand off every single thing, and I don't want to make it sound like my business is so big and I'm so great that I've been able to do it perfectly. But when someone says, I'm the only person in my business that can do X or Y and Z, and they wear it like a badge of honor, that's not a badge of honor to me. To me, that says someone who is going to be forever stuck in their business. I moan when I say that. Oh, I'm the only person in the business that can do this, because I know the truth. The truth is that I'm committed to my family, and I'm committed to the people in my company who are committed to my customers. I'm committed to my customers through my people. I'm not committed to my customers directly. And the reason is because the moment I connect myself to my customers directly, I will lose the capacity to be able to do what needs to be done at the scale of all my customers. So my job is to make sure that all the customers have everything they need, not through me, but through great people who are living my values, and who know my values inside and out, and who are paid based on their ability to live the company values. So I hope that makes sense. But my commitment is to a small number of people, 20 people at ResponsiBid and 6 people under my roof. 26 people, and I have a few really close friends, and then I have like good friends, like just like people, but my commitment to them is just like, we're friends, and I'll take care of you, and I'll do nice things when I can. But the people that you would take a bullet for, that's a small number of people. And I've just surrounded myself with those people to help me to build the empire of my business and to grow old with as a family.
That was so amazing. Everything you just said made such perfect sense, and it was you spoke it with conviction. And I want to say this real quick. Some of the people listening, this was me years ago, 20s and early 30s, when I would hear guys like you who make great money and have bigger businesses say stuff like that. I would get upset and be like, I would just be like, what are he's talking about being committed to a team? Like, what does this have to do with, I got to make money now? But trust me and mark my words, everything that he said, as you grow your business and fast forward 6, 7, 8 years in the future, maybe later, maybe sooner, depends on you. You will remember what Curt said, and you might find yourself one day saying those same things because your values, everything goes up. It's a higher level. So 2 quick things. First thing is, I want to ask everybody where they can find Curt, which he doesn't hang out on social media. But before that, I want to say I'm doing an experiment here. You don't ever hear me say stuff like this. I have a premonition that some of the people that listen to my podcast have service businesses, but they secretly want to learn about how do I start a YouTube channel and become like an influencer? How do you guys get sponsorships and brand deals? How do I make money? And I want to sell online courses. You might have some incredible knowledge and expertise. You don't have to be the best in the world, but you might be really good at something. And you're like, how do these guys do this? And they're making money to help people. So I've created a secret web page. It's keithkalfas.com/influence. Go there, and I'm going to be doing a free private webinar where I'm going to be sharing you how I built a multiple 6-figure online empire while still running my landscape business, but doing this part-time, like literally 15 hours a week. And I've built 18 different streams of income all coming in. And I make money while I sleep doing this. So keithkalfas.com/influence. And the second thing is, where can everybody find you, Curt? Or maybe you don't want to be the guy. Give us some info here.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point. So yeah, I'm on social media for the same reason. My commitment is to my family and to my team. I don't want to be beholden to the whole world of Facebook and Twitter. But anyone who's listening to this, if you want to email me, I could probably point you in the right direction. If there's something that resonated with you that you need help with, just hit me up. Curt, C-U-R-T, at symphosize.com, SYMPHOSIZE.com. If you want to talk to like people who are smarter than me as it relates to like sales automation, then you would probably just go to our website, responsibid.com, and hit up the chat. It's filled with really awesome people who can help you there. But honestly, I really do. My passion is for the entrepreneur. So I don't normally give out my email address, but Keith, like this has been real important stuff that we've been talking about today. So if there's anybody out there that's like, man, I need to talk to Curt, there you go.
I love it. Thanks so much, Curt Kempton, founder of Responsibid, for being on my show on the Untrapped podcast. Again, I'll put all of the info in the show notes. And if you're watching this on the Untrapped podcast YouTube channel, then also I'll put a link to the other podcast we did when we did it in Texas. That one's epic too. And thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next show. Peace.